Hi guys.
And we're back. So, as we left off in the last episode, we were discussing flow, which is, just as a quick refresher in case you took a break between episodes here, it's when you get really into the game and everything starts to kind of click. Like,
and then you watch a recording and you notice a lot more things that happen, like attacks you used or attacks your allies used.
Well, and that's not strictly the thing with flow. It's also it's related to it, but it's not the entirety of what flow is.
Like another quick refresher, in my second walkthrough of the Pete battle, Donna got to low health, and until I don't remember that happening while I was playing the game. But then when I watched the video, I keep watching the video because I just like to. And but now I'm vaguely remembering that happening.
Okay, we take a quick break here from the mission. Excuse me. Which I did not know you could do, to return to the city and stock up on some items, because we forgot to restock on photon charges.
I explained it a few chapters earlier.
Right. I'd completely forgotten. Anyway, flow is a very trance-like state. It's where you can kind of notice yourself slowing down almost, and you just kind of get completely into the game. This is very... I don't want to say transcendental, but it's a state of almost becoming one with the game, where it feels like the controller just disappears. Not like physically, of course. Like if you really wanted to think about it, you could feel the controller in your hands, but you stop thinking about the controller being there. You get submerged in the game.
Isn't that a way to get over your fears?
How may I help you?
Sorry? What?
Isn't that a way to get over your fears? Or like... Okay, let's take roller coasters for example.
Are you talking about exposure therapy?
No, I'm saying... I'm referring to your not thinking about it comment.
I kind of, but no. This has nothing to do with getting over fears. Like, this is where the interface between you and the game stops mattering, and it's you and the game. It feels much less like you have a controller mediating between you and the game. But anyway, flow can pop up in anything at all, any kind of game. You know, those moments when you're playing, like, Bejeweled or Candy Crush, where you're just making matches. Just jumping from combo to combo in seconds. You don't have to think about it. You're just seeing it and acting on it before you even process it. Or playing a shooter, Call of Duty or Halo, where you're just charging through a level, dodging enemy fire, popping headshots, tossing off a grenade at the right moment. That is flow.
Well, I guess
it's also super easy to find in a lot of Sonic games. I find, especially the old school ones, they're really good at creating flow.
Well, I guess the other reason I was thinking of is that when you're watching it, you don't have to worry about healing yourself and whatnot.
I guess, yeah.
So while you're playing it, you have to
that's not quite what I'm talking about here with flow.
Well, what I mean is that when you watch it again, you notice more things because you're not concentrated on
what you're doing.
I need to heal.
Yeah, you're not concentrating on what you're doing. You're stepping back. That's why that's why people think, man, I don't know why people are having such a hard time with this section of a game. I could do this in my sleep. It's because you're not there. You're not focusing on what you're doing. You're just seeing everything that's been recorded in the video.
And we didn't get a chance to get into this because we had to end the video, but the last thing I raised was that it sometimes feels like the battle blows by, like, wow, that went by. But when you look back at the video, it actually took longer. Or vice versa, look at the video, it seems like it took shorter.
Right. Well, and that's partly to do with, time flies when you're having fun. But it's also partly, I think in your case, like you specifically were citing the fact that you've been through the Pete battle like 3 times for 3 different monitors. And that's, I think, the fact that it flies by for you is just partly based on the fact that you've done it so many times.
Now, what about the other direction where it feels longer and the fight while you're actually doing it, but shorter when you're going back and watching it?
I think that's more to do with your concentration on the thing. And again, our perception of time is so weird. It's so bizarre. Because time literally does, fly faster for us when we're really enjoying ourselves.
Even though it doesn't.
Even though it's, objectively, it's not actually going any faster. But we feel like it is because we're enjoying ourselves.
Whereas if you're just all day staring at a clock,
you're not having any fun, and it's going to feel like it's even longer than it technically is. Our perceptions of time are so bizarre.
Well, a perfect example is when when I was still going to school, is when we had extended periods.
Yep, and you're watching that clock, waiting for everything to be over, but it's still not over, and oh god, just kill me now! Stuff like that.
My freshman year, when they had extended periods, it used to be an hour and 50 minutes.
Ugh, god.
But when I moved to sophomore, and you were a senior then, right? When I went to sophomore?
Pretty sure, yeah.
That was when they changed it to an hour and 15.
I don't know.
Which was a lot less headaches.
Yeah, considerably less. I forget why we were cycling through weapons here, but there was a reason. I'm sure.
Okay, so just to...
but, yeah, flow matters in a game, too.
So just to re-clarify, if I'm fighting a boss battle, and it feels like it took a short amount of time, but then I look at the video and it actually took longer, that's because I'm... In one view is that I'm used to it. Because I've fought it before.
Well, yeah, and that's... And it's not just one view. There's multiple factors at work. There's never just one thing responsible. That's part of what makes, scientific research so difficult to report.
But if it's the other way around, where you feel the battle took longer, but when you're going back and watching it actually took shorter, that's...
Well, and that can be for a variety of factors. Like I said, that can be not enjoying it as much. It can also be you're just concentrating that hard, and your perception of the time the battle is taking slows down, so you have more time to process what's going on. Human beings are really weird and really cool. That's part of why I'm so interested in psychology, is the brain is incredibly fascinating.
Maybe that's why I find sex fascinating.
Because it's so bizarre and cool?
Well, not that... Wait, is sex supposed to be cool?
I don't know. It depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Well, I mean, from a scientific view, it just really interests me. I just...
Very, very...
I guess the variety interests me, like when people have sex, they could do it just unclothed enough to penetrate, but some people will get completely naked.
Yeah,
variety.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm so interested in psychology, is why do people do the things they do? And that's also why I'm interested in sociology, which is basically psychology scaled up to groups rather than a person.
Like sex, it varies from person to person, or even from session to session.
Well, yeah, and it's video games are very interesting in that way too. There's so much variation between games, which is what makes it disappointing when games are extremely derivative and don't really do much to they don't really do much to push the envelope. A good a formulaic game, you know what you're in for, but you're sacrificing some of that potential thrill. And admittedly, some of the stuff that feels very formulaic today was groundbreaking at the time. Look at Doom. Well, actually, no. Doom is I would hardly consider Doom formulaic even today, because it's a completely different beast from other modern shooters.
This is where Karen went.
Oh, yeah. Karen is KO'd. That's okay, though.
And that's...
She can just get up.
And, remember that in games like this, remember not to mistake that. They're not actually dead, they're just knocked out.
Yeah, which is really weird, because, like, a character could take a blast of nuclear fire to the face and only be knocked out.
But Dragon Quest VIII actually uses the term's death.
Right. Which is also, like, you have to be careful in how you use this stuff. Like...
So you'd rather Dragon Quest VIII use knocked out?
Well, no, I'm saying it raises some weird questions when your characters are actually, like, dying in battle, but then they can't use their resurrection spells in a cutscene.
Yeah, I'll never understand that.
That's one of those things about game writing that will forever piss me off, is...
Well, there's a great example in Phantasy Star 4, the end of Millennium. When you first encounter Zig, he's unbeatable, and after a few turns he uses a black wave that Alice protects Chaz by taking a hit, and she later dies, and Rika tries to use E-Res on her, but it doesn't work.
Well, okay, in that case, though, it's... Now, I'm not familiar with the plot details of the game, but that's because... specifically because of the cause of death, if I remember correctly. Because it's... The Black Wave is, the specifically using the power of the Dark Force, or whatever is the big evil thing of the Phantasy Star continuity.
But it kills her. But when you fight Zig again, where he is beatable, he uses it on you and you're completely fine. You just
He
take a lot
uses
of
the
damage.
exact same attack?
Yeah.
And it doesn't kill you, and even if it kills somebody, you can still res them.
Yes.
Okay, that's really bizarre. I suppose it's done for gameplay reasons, because obviously you wouldn't want to have an unresable character get killed off, especially if that character's, somebody critical to the plot.
I guess Alice wasn't critical to the plot.
Yeah, well, and that is something that bothers me. Like, that's a whole other discussion, though, on especially female characters who get killed off just to prove the plot. They get stuffed into a fridge just to fuel somebody else's angst. That is a little pet peeve of mine. Like, and actually, when I was thinking about this a while ago, and I actually had it the other way around. I thought it was Alice that was the real main character, and Chaz died to that. Which, in my mind, that would have been a far more interesting plot twist, just because it's something that games don't do. Hell, that's something that media in general doesn't do.
did it. Samson, a male, died.
Right. Right, and it's a completely different thing from... And he had actual plot build-up and character development, and a reason... Well, okay. The reasons he died were kind of bullshit. Once again, it's that complete separation of game mechanics and story.
Yeah, but he took a lot of snipes to the back when we were playing with him.
Yeah, like, he'll soak up bullets like nothing else in combat, but the second it's a cutscene, he's just dead. Despite the fact that you have Revive, or Resurrection, or whatever the spell is called. Hell, you can even be carrying, like, the Resurrection items in your inventory.
Although, oddly enough, on one of the pages in the instruction booklet, it shows Samson with the entire game in combat. Card, Paulette, Maru,
That might have been left over from a beta version.
And then
hey, that's right, we picked up a gun. Right, but you never use guns.
And then so I guess in the beta version they were going to have Samson a permanently playable character.
Maybe.
And then they decided to kill him off.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate what that did for the story, but it still bothers me, the circumstances. The circumstances still really piss me off. Like, if you're gonna make a character go out like that, make him go out in style, and give us at least, something we can infer as to why we can't just cast, healing spells.
Like, any ideas of Samson that could have been used?
Well, this would require a bit of embellishment on the plot, but say, like, the climax of that arc was you have to go. Well, I mean, obviously the Dillspell came to the island on a ship of some. So the climax of the arc is you raid the ship, bust in, and then somebody activates the self-destruct mechanism, and everybody, you're piling out, and Samson, like, the doors are about to close and seal, and Samson shoves Karg out of the door and gets stuck behind the sealed door. Or something like that. Like, there you go. There's your reason you can't res him, because he's kind of a bloody smear, unfortunately.
But yeah, he got hit with explosions all the time from the Dillspell.
Well, right, but entire ship exploding, wreckage collapsing, he's not going to be in any kind of shape to get resurrected. You know, things like that. Or, I mean, hell, even, like, pitfalls, that's a great way to kill somebody off without being able to res them, because you don't have a body to res. Like, that's kind of a standard thing, is if there's something that would leave no body, you're not going to be able to resurrect.
Well, those quite, ironically, well, not ironically, but Kingdom Hearts uses the term knocked out.
Right.
But what's kind of funny is that, Auron's quote for being revived is, "Death cannot stop me."
That's actually because of, that's not a reference, he's not actually dying in the game. But, that's a reference to the game he comes from. Which would be spoilers, but I'm not sure how much we really want to get into that, considering how long it's been since 10 came out. I don't know, do you plan on playing 10?
I don't know, but anyway, the game...
Well, let's just say there's a reason he's in the Underworld.
Mm-hmm. So the game he came from, he can die.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that for now. People who are familiar with FF10 know why I'm hesitating there, but...
Although his knocked out quote is not really deadly. Yeah. When he gets revived, he just says, "Death cannot stop me."
Yeah, and that's very much a product of the game he comes from. Which is a little weird considering that the original Final Fantasy games and their relationship to Kingdom Hearts. Considering all of the weird alterations of their canon.
I kind of like Jax, though. When he gets revived, he says encore.
Yeah, he's very showy. It's Captain Jack Sparrow.
No, Skellington.
Oh. Okay. I don't know why I was thinking of Sparrow. Of Captain Sparrow. Sorry. Yeah. That's one of my favorite little things you can do with a game, is little bits of characterization that you don't have to spend screen time on, necessarily. Like, well, yeah, let's take Jack Skellington's revival quote in Kingdom Hearts. Encore! That tells us a lot about his personality, and it fits in perfectly from what we know of Jack.
Let's see, his low health quote is, "Something is amiss." And then when he gets KO'd, it's no use.
Well, I mean, it's not every single one of them has to be a perfect insight into the character. But, you know, those little tiny character details that somebody spends time on, but are there for the observant player.
And I like how between Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2, they changed some of the quotes.
Yeah.
Like, when Jack hits low health in Kingdom Hearts 2, he'll say, "Something is amiss." But in Kingdom Hearts 1, he'll just say, "This does not look good."
Yeah.
They did it with Goofy, too. From help to somebody come quick.
Yeah, like, little things like that.
Donald stayed the same.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Little details, you know? That's one of my favorite things. And that's, like, in different forms of media have different ways of
That's the
doing
whole
it.
reason why I like to, why I started the projects of recording the stats at each level up for Dragon Quest VIII and Twilight Spirits. And it's also the reason why I get really interested in the quotes they use for the various things.
Right. Actually, nice example of integrating mechanics and story. Final Fantasy IV. There's an old man named Tella who joins your party temporarily, and because he's one of the most powerful magic casters in the game, which is cool and all, but he only joins the party temporarily. But as a reflection of the fact that he's aging, whenever he levels up, he actually loses stats. Because he's getting old.
So wait, with each level up he ages?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's supposed to simulate the effect of aging. You know, the fact that he's getting really old and isn't as healthy or as agile as he used to be, so he loses points in some of his stats when he levels up. You know, little integrations like that.
This probably doesn't relate as much, but another thing that they changed in Kingdom Hearts is that each character usually has 2 quotes they use when they're supporting themselves, like using a potion on themselves. Like Donald will say yeah or okay. In Kingdom Hearts 1, Goofy would either say yeah or yuck. In Kingdom Hearts 2, they removed the yuck and just went with yeah for some reason.
I don't know.
I always
Couldn't tell you why in that case.
But that's one trait of Goofy I always like. Is hey yuck, especially in combat.
Yep. I wouldn't be able to tell you why they did that.
And this doesn't relate at all.
But as I was saying, different forms of media have different ways to do that. Like, in movies, actually, I don't remember which actor this was. One actor said, he's quoted as saying that he doesn't really know, he doesn't really have a handle on his character until he knows how the character walks. Because there's little details like that that kind of tell you things about the person. You know, a person who strides through a room confidently is going to be very different from someone who's walking through a room looking at their phone, checking their watch, something like that. And movies can do it in interesting ways because you can put little items and stuff in the background, little details in the background, that the camera can just pass over, that an observant viewer can find, but aren't necessarily called out by the characters. It's a little harder to do something like that in a written story because, you know, by the very nature of the story, anything you write about, you're calling attention to it. Like a smart reader is going to know you're mentioning these things for a reason. But that's where the glory of word choice comes in. You know, I like a step and a stride. They're technically synonyms, but they imply very different things. Or like if I were to write about Phantasy Star, for example, if I wrote a sentence saying Ethan swung at the monster versus Ethan slashed at the monster, that implies 2 very different actions, despite the fact that I'm technically describing the same action. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
You know, or I mean, like Ethan swung at the monster, Ethan slashed at the monster, Ethan struck out at the monster, etc., etc. It all feels very different. Right, these creepy things. I haven't even... I've been so wrapped up in actually discussing this kind of stuff. I get so geeked out about language and media and storytelling. That's probably really obvious. But storytelling is one of my biggest, like, geeky subjects ever.
Level 45, stats, blah blah blah.
You know, that's why I get so enthusiastic. I completely didn't notice those creepy mantis monsters. Those things are a real pain in the ass in this game too, because they have that. Aren't they the ones that have the instant attack?
No.
Oh, really?
Those are Jarvis.
Oh, right. Okay. I just remember something with that exact, like, stature, which is another thing that bothers me about them basically reusing enemy types. Because you know exactly what they're gonna do. And And even when they have different capabilities, it gets really easy to mix them up. Oh, and looks like that's about it for this episode, so we'll see you in the next one.